We've all been sold this amazing vision of the future, right? A world full of self-driving cars where you just hop in, kick back, and enjoy the ride. But then you look outside, and, well, where are they? It feels like that future is stuck in some serious traffic. So what's the deal? Why aren't these autonomous vehicles, or AVs, completely taking over our roads yet? Let's dig in and unpack the really complicated reality behind that self-driving dream.
So let's start with that dream. The promise of self-driving cars was, nothing short of utopia on wheels. They were going to be more efficient, way more comfortable, and, this is the big one, safer than any human could ever be. A lot of that optimism, all that excitement, was built on one pretty staggering number.
Yeah, you're seeing that right. 94%. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, a whopping 94% of all car crashes are caused by us, by human error, being distracted, tired, making a bad call, all the things a machine is supposed to be perfect at avoiding. This was the huge central problem that self-driving cars were going to solve for good.
And the potential benefits? They seemed absolutely endless. AVs could completely change the game for the elderly or people with disabilities, giving them a whole new level of independence. They could make traffic flow perfectly, cutting down on those brutal commutes. So with all that upside, the question seemed super simple. Could robots really do it better?
Well, that brings us to today, and the road from that dream to our current reality has been, let's just say, a little bumpy. The data that's been rolling in after years of real-world testing is painting a picture that's way more complex and, frankly, a lot more challenging than anyone really expected. And this is where that dream really slams into a brick wall of data. Take a look at this. For every million miles on the road, the current self-driving cars have a crash rate of 9.1. Now compare that to us humans, which is 4.1. Think about that. That is more than double the rate. It's a massive reality check that this tech still has a long, long way to go.
And guess what? People are definitely noticing. It's no surprise that those crash stats are causing public trust to, take a nosedive. A recent study laid out the top reasons people are still so skeptical. And the biggest one? A full 50% of people just flat out feel unsafe. And right behind that, 45% say they want the car always under control. The confidence just isn't there yet.
So what's going on here? Why are they crashing more? Why is everyone so nervous? To figure that out, we've got to pop the hood and look at the car's blind spots. The really fundamental things that are holding this whole revolution back. Okay, first up, the world itself. Turns out, self-driving cars have a really tough time with something as simple as the weather. Things that we just deal with, like heavy rain or thick fog, can basically blind these incredibly sophisticated sensors. Get this, studies actually show the risk of a crash skyrockets by 70% in the rain. Even that fancy LiDAR system, the laser thing that builds a 3D map of the world, it can't see through a heavy fog. And it's not just weather. Something as simple as faded lane markings or a dirt road can completely throw an AV's navigation for a loop. All right, then you've got the tech challenges inside the car itself. For one, those LiDAR systems, super expensive. It makes building these cars for everybody a huge financial hurdle. And think about this. For these cars to all talk to each other and avoid accidents, they need a constant, lightning-fast connection, like 5G. Our current 4G networks, they're often just too slow for those split-second safety decisions. And to top it all off, a single one of these cars can generate over 300 terabytes of data a year. Managing all that information is a gigantic technological headache.
But hey, it's not just about bad weather or expensive parts. There's a much creepier threat. This quote from a research paper really hits the nail on the head, capturing this deep fear that a lot of people have. What if someone hacks my car?
And you know what? That fear is totally justified. This isn't some movie plot. It's happening right now. The number of cyber attacks on cars shot up by 225% in just 3 years. And get this, a staggering 85% of those attacks were done remotely. Suddenly, making sure the software is hack-proof is just as important as building better brakes.
So with all these weaknesses, the weather, the tech, the hackers, what actually happens when things go wrong on the road? Let's break down the anatomy of a robot crash. What do these accidents really look like?
So you might think AVs are getting into all sorts of crazy futuristic accidents, right? Well, the data from California says the most common crash, by a lot, 59%, is just getting rear-ended. And why is that? Well, it's because AVs tend to be almost too cautious. They might slam on the brakes for something a human driver would just ignore, which catches the person behind them completely by surprise. They follow the rules perfectly, but they don't get the unwritten social rules of driving yet.
And here's the worrying part. As we see more of these cars on the road, the problem is actually getting worse, not better. The number of reported accidents has been skyrocketing, from a handful, just 5 in 2019, to 87 in 2022. It's a trend that really tells us we need to fix these core problems before we roll these cars out everywhere.
And behind every one of those numbers, we can't forget there are real people, and sometimes real tragedies. The first ever pedestrian death happened back in 2018. An Uber test vehicle hit and killed a woman named Elaine Herzberg. The investigation found a total, catastrophic failure. The car's technology didn't see her in time, and the human safety driver, the person who was supposed to be the final backstop, was distracted, streaming a TV show on her phone. It was just a devastating reminder of how high the stakes really are.
A tragedy like that, it just opens up a whole new can of worms. Questions that have nothing to do with sensors or code. It shoves us right into this messy, complicated ethical maze where there are no easy answers. When a self-driving car gets it wrong, who's really to blame?
I mean, the ethical headaches are huge. We're talking about everything from cybersecurity and data privacy to just how much we can truly depend on the system. But the really, really tough ones are about programming a car to make a moral choice, and then figuring out who pays when an accident can't be avoided.
This brings us to something you might have heard of, the infamous trolley problem. For ages, this was just a theoretical puzzle for philosophy students. But for a self-driving car engineer, it's a literal line of code they have to write. In a situation where there's no good outcome, what does the car do? Should it be programmed to swerve and hit one person to save 5? Should it always protect its own passenger no matter what? These aren't theories anymore. They're programming decisions.
And that all boils down to the billion-dollar or maybe trillion-dollar legal question. Who is responsible? If a self-driving car crashes, who's on the hook? Is it the person who owns the car? The company that built it? The engineer who wrote the code that made the decision? Our entire legal system just wasn't designed for a world where the driver isn't a person.
So, okay, when you stack it all up, you've got the tech hurdles, the real-world accidents, the deep ethical problems. It's pretty obvious, right? The road to that fully self-driving future, well, it's a heck of a lot longer and twistier than any of us thought.
So what's the to-do list? What has to happen? Well, first, the core technology has to be perfected. We need sensors that work in any weather and hardware that people can actually afford. Second, we have to build out the infrastructure, smart roads, universal 5G, everywhere. Third, the whole system has to be locked down tight, totally hack-proof. And finally, we as a society have to come up with answers for those huge ethical and legal questions. Which makes you wonder, maybe after all the code is written and all the sensors are perfected, the biggest roadblock won't be the technology at all. Maybe it's us. And that leaves us with the ultimate question. Beyond all the code and the sensors, what will it really take for us to truly, genuinely trust a robot with the keys?